Why needing approval is quietly destroying your life. What if the reason you're unhappy has nothing to do with money, success, or even your circumstances? What if the real problem is something much deeper? A silent addiction. An addiction that affects almost everyone. An addiction so socially accepted that most people don't even realize they have it. The addiction to validation. Every day, millions of people change their behavior for one reason: to be liked, to be accepted, to be approved of. They carefully choose what to post online. They hesitate before speaking. They avoid disagreement. They hide their true opinions, all because they fear one thing: rejection. But here's the paradox: the more validation you seek, the less confident you become. The more approval you need, the less free you feel. And the more you depend on other people's opinions, the more control they gain over your life. Today, we'll explore the psychology behind validation seeking, why it traps so many people, what ancient Stoic philosophers understood about it centuries ago, and how you can finally break free. Imagine waking up in the morning. Before your feet touch the floor, you check your phone. You look for messages, notifications, likes, comments, tiny signals that tell you you matter. For a brief moment, it feels good, but the feeling never lasts. Soon, you need another notification, another compliment, another sign of approval. And that's where the problem begins. Many people spend their entire lives chasing external validation without realizing it. Some seek validation from social media. Others seek it from family. Some seek it from romantic partners. Others seek it from co-workers. The source changes. The pattern remains the same. Their self-worth becomes dependent on something they cannot control: the opinions of other people. This creates a dangerous cycle. You begin living for applause instead of purpose. You become more concerned with being liked than being authentic. You stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "What will people think?" Over time, this disconnects you from yourself. The psychology of validation. Why does validation feel so powerful? The answer lies deep within human evolution. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on belonging to a tribe. Being accepted meant safety. Being rejected could mean death. Your brain evolved to care deeply about social approval. Even today, your nervous system treats social rejection as a threat. Studies have shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions associated with physical pain. In other words, being ignored literally hurts. This explains why criticism feels so intense, why embarrassment feels unbearable, why many people fear public speaking more than death. Your brain interprets social judgment as danger, but in the modern world, this survival mechanism often becomes dysfunctional. Social media has amplified it. Now validation is quantified: likes, followers, views, shares, comments. Every notification becomes a small reward, a dopamine hit. And just like any reward system, it can become addictive. You start measuring your worth through external metrics. The problem: external validation is unpredictable. Sometimes people approve, sometimes they don't. When your self-esteem depends on external approval, your emotional state becomes unstable. You are constantly riding an emotional roller coaster controlled by other people. The hidden cost of people-pleasing. Validation seeking often disguises itself as kindness. Many people believe they're simply being nice, but underneath that behavior is often fear. Fear of conflict, fear of criticism, fear of rejection. This creates what psychologists call people-pleasing behavior. People-pleasers often say yes when they want to say no, avoid expressing disagreement, suppress their true feelings, overextend themselves for others. They sacrifice authenticity to gain approval. At first, this seems harmless, but eventually it creates resentment, because every time you betray yourself to please others, you lose a little self-respect. Ironically, excessive people-pleasing often produces the opposite result. Instead of earning respect, it weakens it. People begin to sense uncertainty. They see someone who is constantly adapting to fit expectations, someone who lacks clear boundaries. And without boundaries, respect becomes difficult to maintain. What Stoicism teaches. More than 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers recognized this problem, long before social media, long before modern psychology. They understood a simple truth. You cannot control what other people think, and trying to control it leads to suffering. One of the central ideas of Stoicism is called the dichotomy of control. Some things are within your control, others are not. Your actions? Within your control. Your values? Within your control. Your effort? Within your control. Other people's opinions? Not within your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This insight changes everything. Most people spend enormous energy trying to manage their image, trying to make everyone like them, trying to avoid criticism. But Stoicism argues that this is a losing battle, because human opinions constantly change. The same person who praises you today may criticize you tomorrow. If your peace depends on their approval, your peace will never last. Why seeking approval makes you weaker. Here's something counterintuitive. Seeking approval often reduces the very thing you're trying to gain: respect. Think about people you admire, leaders, innovators, artists, visionaries. Do they spend their lives trying to please everyone? Usually not. In fact, many successful people are criticized heavily. Why? Because they prioritize principles over popularity. They understand something validation seekers do not. Respect comes from conviction, not compliance. The moment you become dependent on approval, you begin compromising your beliefs. You become reactive instead of intentional. Your identity becomes shaped by external feedback. Instead of becoming yourself, you become a reflection of what others expect. Real-life examples. Imagine a young professional named David. David constantly seeks approval from his boss. He agrees with everything, never challenges ideas, works late even when exhausted, says yes to every request. At first, this earns praise, but eventually his boss stops respecting his boundaries. More work gets assigned, more expectations appear. David becomes overwhelmed. Why? Because he trained others to expect self-sacrifice. Now imagine another employee. She is respectful, professional, helpful, but she also has boundaries. She speaks honestly. She disagrees when necessary. She values her own time. Who is more likely to earn long-term respect? Usually the second person, not because she's more talented, but because she respects herself. And self-respect often teaches others how to treat you. How to break free from validation addiction. The first step is awareness. Notice how often your decisions are influenced by approval. Ask yourself, would I still do this if nobody praised me? Would I still post this if nobody liked it? Would I still pursue this goal if nobody applauded? These questions reveal your true motivations. Second, practice small acts of authenticity. Express an honest opinion. Say no when necessary. Set boundaries. Accept that not everyone will approve. Third, Reduce dependence on external feedback, spend time alone, journal regularly, reflect on your values, build a relationship with yourself. The stronger your internal foundation becomes, the less external validation you need. Fourth, learn to tolerate discomfort. Disapproval is uncomfortable. Criticism is uncomfortable. Rejection is uncomfortable. But discomfort is not danger. You can survive it, and each time you do, you become stronger. The ultimate Stoic perspective. Imagine reaching the end of your life, looking back on decades of decisions. What would matter more? Being liked by everyone or being true to yourself? Most people spend years chasing acceptance, only to realize they never truly lived. They performed, they adapted, they hid, they waited for permission. But life does not reward perfect approval. Life rewards authenticity, the courage to live according to your principles, the courage to speak your truth, the courage to disappoint others when necessary, because freedom begins where approval, addiction ends. Conclusion. Seeking validation is natural. Every human being wants acceptance, but there is a difference between appreciating approval and depending on it. The first is healthy, the second is dangerous. The moment your worth depends on other people's opinions, you surrender control of your happiness. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Your peace cannot come from applause. Your confidence cannot come from likes. Your value cannot come from strangers. It must come from within. Because when you stop needing everyone's approval, something remarkable happens. You become free. Free to think, free to act, free to live, and perhaps for the first time, free to be yourself. Ending quotes. The approval of others is a luxury. Self-respect is a necessity. When you seek validation, you give others the pen to write your story. A person who depends on applause will always fear silence. The strongest confidence comes from knowing who you are, not from hearing who others think you are. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking for permission to be yourself.